Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining. Today is Tuesday, June 10th, and we're thankful for this meeting of our bicycle industry, retailer-focused e-bike safety and standards panel. This is a quarterly platform providing a chance for industry experts to meet and discuss retailer risks, concerns, and best practices around lithium-ion batteries and e-mobility devices, safety, standards, and compliance. The NBDA is very appreciative of our panel members who have volunteered their time and expertise to this discussion. Tremendous energy has gone into making this platform a resource, not just for retailers, but for the industry at large. We truly believe that working united, this collective conversation that we have quarterly will continue to propel us towards growth in e-bike sales and participation with limited risk and safety for all, which is so important. Thank you again to the panel members who are here. It really does mean a lot to us. Not only have you shown up today, but tremendous energy, as I said, has gone into just preparing for the topics today. So we truly do appreciate you. If you're viewing as a participant, thank you for being here. And this is truly an opportunity for you to engage with the panel experts and share your opinions too. So as we go along, you can engage with us by placing questions in the Q&A function or in the chat function. And the NBDA and our panel members will monitor those. And some questions we might type back to you and answer, and other questions we might actually answer live or invite you to speak live. So we do truly want those in attendance to take part. And if you have questions, if you need clarity, or if you just want to share your opinion, it's all welcome. So feel free to just put that into the chat or the Q&A, or you can even raise your Zoom hand and we'll get you involved. So with that, thrilled to see everyone this June. I'll ask Jay Townley from Human Powered Solutions, the resident futurist, to kick us off with some words of the good. Jay?
Well, thank you, Heather. And hey, it's high noon, everybody in the Midwest. And good to see all of you. I think I know everybody on the panel. So good day to you. Uh, and welcome. And welcome to our participants as well. Welcome to the NBDA Bicycle Industry Retailer Focused E-Bike Safety and Standards Panel. Now, the NBDA believes the next era of cycling will be defined not by how fast we go or how far we go, but how mindfully we move. This is the moment to lead, not just in products and services, but in values. The NBDA panels are safe harbors where the opinions of everyone in our community are valued and respected. And we ask that questions and comments be directed to the subject and not to the individuals. E-bike and safety standards represent two of the most important topics that will shape the future of the American bicycle market and business. And I hope everyone is looking forward to the topics and the presentations as I am. Heather, back to you.
Excellent. Yeah, Jay, thank you for that. And how we do get our topics and presentations for each panel, I'll just throw a reminder out to our attendees how these topics come about. Megan Schmidt, who is the NBDA Programs Coordinator, reaches out to our membership at large and solicits topic suggestions about 8 weeks prior to these quarterly meetings. The topics are suggested by retailers, by panel members, and by the industry at large. We go through all topics that have been suggested, correlate them with topics that this panel has discussed before, and we bring forth those which we think would be great for discussion. Occasionally, we have special presentations, and those come up by just judging what's going on in the industry, trending events, or things that we think are most important to highlight and showcase. So we do welcome topic suggestions for every panel event. And if you'd like to learn more about that or be more involved, feel free always to reach out to the NBDA, myself, which is Heather at NBDA.com, or Megan at NBDA.com. We want involvement from all retailers and suppliers to make these conversations as dynamic as possible. So with that, let's get in for today's special presentation. We're going to kick it off today with a very special presentation from Andrea Cholmensky, and I'm sorry if I butchered your last name there, but she is Director of New Business Development at RLG by Reconomy. Andrea is going to share some updates on the latest in lithium-ion battery safety recycling across the industry. She'll also touch on some best battery management practices and highlight some considerations for creating a safer, more sustainable battery waste ecosystem. These are all things that we do as an industry really need to be focused on as we look at solutions just to continue with safety and recycling across the industry. Andrea has volunteered her time and I know has gone out of her way to attend today. So Andrea, without further ado, thank you so much and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Heather. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you to all the other panelists as well and to everyone that registered. I'm just going to get right into it. So let me share my screen. I know how to do this. Okay. All right. So thank you again. My name is Andrea Schmelinski. I know that's always a tough one for pretty much everyone. So no worries, Heather. And I work for RLG by Reconomy. We're going to present to you today a little bit about RLG and Reconomy, about best practices and considerations for the whole ecosystem, and how RLG is ultimately going to help. So, Reconomy is a global company. We have offices in over 26 cities around the world. The sun never really sets on Reconomy. And we have a lot of experience. We've managed over 260,000 metric tons of batteries since 2020 through a variety of different businesses. So we operate producer responsibility organizations in many parts of the world for consumer electronics, otherwise known as waste electronics and electrical equipment. In the recycling industry, we call it it's just electronics, and batteries. So where you see on the map here in green is where we operate both electronics and battery producer responsibility organizations. In dark blue is where we simply do consumer electronics recycling programs, and in light blue down in Argentina, we do battery recycling programs. And what is a PRO? So producer responsibility organization ultimately sets up a collection network, works with retailers, collects waste electronics and batteries, manages a network of downstream recyclers and all the transportation links that make that program happen, along with things like safety and due diligence, chain of custody, traceability, software. There's a lot of considerations that go into recycling programs, and we've been doing this since the 1990s, starting in Germany with automotive battery take back. Back then, that was lead acid batteries. And now in 2025, of course, we're looking at lithium-ion batteries. So in the Americas, I'll start with where I hail from in Ontario. We are the operator of the Curbside Blue Box program, so the curbside recycling program. Throughout the United States, in 25 different states, we operate consumer electronics take back and recycling programs, as well as in Mexico, Peru, Colombia, and Ontario again. We are Batteries Pro in Argentina. And in Uruguay, we operate a deposit return system with our partners. We also specialize in extended producer responsibility and help producers manage all that data. So there's a lot of reporting considerations for producers that are subject to these laws. So let's talk about e-bike batteries. Well, I'm going to start with a story. I love e-bikes. I went to a wedding in Kelowna, which is in British Columbia, and it's a mountainous region. And there were a bunch of wineries everywhere, and I really wanted to go on a tour of the wineries. Anyway, I rented an e-bike, and I took a wrong turn, and I started going uphill, up the mountain on my e-bike. And I have to say, I didn't break a sweat. I think it's an excellent product. And ultimately, I found where I needed to go. But, I just want to say that e-bikes are super prevalent in our world right now, and they're a highly valuable mode of transportation for people in cities, for people in countries, for people in mountains. And I think they should, stay that way. I know that there are a lot of considerations for the industry, and we want to start, there are a lot of complex considerations and challenges in the industry. And ultimately, you really want to start as upstream as possible. You want to prevent incidents from happening. You want to prevent batteries coming into the United States and Canada that pose challenges. But there's a lot of work that goes into preventing things, and you do have to consider mitigating risk and dealing with a problem head on as well. So I'm here to talk about what a solution that RLG and Reconomy have brought to market in the United States and Canada, and we'll go from there. And you guys can ask me all sorts of questions after. So I'm bringing to market with RLG and Reconomy the Lithium-Ion Battery Safety Box, the LISA box. This is a solution, it's safe packaging for specifically damaged, defective, or recalled lithium-ion batteries. What makes it so special? Our partner has developed our supplier has developed a product called AccuGrain that lines the box. All right. And ultimately, this is a fire suppressant material that instantly reduces temperature when exposed to the high heat of a thermal runaway incident. The way it works is it phases into water vapor, dousing the fire, cutting off the oxygen, cooling the event, and limiting the hazardous gases that are emitted from a thermal runaway event. These are the specifications. So I want to call to your attention a few things. It is rated up to 9,000 watt hours. So this box, it's about the size of a pallet, maybe a little bit bigger. You can fit approximately 8 e-bike batteries fully charged in this box, assuming that an e-bike battery is about 1 kilowatt hour. And you will likely run out of space before you run out of power capacity. The tare weight of these boxes is they're quite heavy. They're 170 kilograms. I don't know, call that 350 pounds. And you can stack them. They are stackable. I want to call to your attention that they're certified to the P911 standard, which is a live fire test certification embedded within the European UN ADR regulations, a lot of acronyms. The P911 certification tests, it's a drop test and it's a live fire test. So to pass this test, no flames can escape the box and no projectiles can escape the box. The box does self-ventilate water vapor and ultimately will prevent a fire from spreading if a DDR battery is placed inside the box and the box is closed according to our instructions. So that's the LISA box. And, when we're talking about things like best practices and consideration for the ecosystem, we've thought about that. RLG stands for Reverse Logistics Group. This is what we've been doing since the 1990s. So, we're thinking about things like how to get these boxes into your retail stores, exchanging those boxes when you have a full box, providing you with an empty one. We're thinking about when we receive those boxes back, sorting and triaging the batteries in that box, and then shipping them downstream to a recycler or a responsible hazardous waste disposal site, depending on the state of the battery. There are a lot of considerations. Is that battery defective or not? How do you know? There's testing platforms for that. Hopefully you can tell if the battery is damaged. If not, put it in the LISA box and close the lid. So that's kind of the ecosystem map of what we're doing here in the US and Canada. And in Canada, we are working in partnership with Call to Recycle. Call to Recycle Canada and RLG Canada have partnered to bring the LISA box to the household hazardous waste depots. And I'm here in the US today. I'm actually in Nashville right now at the Battery and Critical Metal Recycling Conference put on by Recycling Today. And we will see what happens in the US. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. that's pretty much my presentation. I did want to touch on the fact that this ecosystem is supported by Reconomy's in-house technology development team in Recotech. So Recotech is our technology team in Romania, where we have full stack engineers, mobile application development, project management, product management. So what you're seeing in this ecosystem and network is all supported by technology that will enable retailers to request a pickup, as well as receive important documentation like labels, certificates of destruction, etc. Pretty much anything required from a regulatory and compliance perspective will be centrally managed through a Reconomy platform. So that being said, I think, there are a lot of experts on the line today that will give their best advice on safety considerations and the complex challenges and opportunities that we have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them now. I'm going to stop sharing because I'm on my laptop so that I can see what the questions are. But please feel free to go online and verbally ask them as well. Thank you.
Andrea, thank you so much. It's important at the NBDA that we highlight technology and brands that are offering up safe solutions and solutions with recycling and to the industry forward for e-mobility and lithium-ion batteries. So thank you, Andrea, for that presentation and highlighting the work you're doing. I'm wondering if there's any questions from our panel members or added conversation. Mike, did you want to say something? Mike Fritz from Human Powered Solutions?
No, I just that it's gratifying and encouraging to know that there are companies such as RLG, in the process of developing the protocols and infrastructure necessary to recycle batteries in mass, which is basically the focus of this discussion today. If you'd like, Heather, I can just start into my presentation if there are no other questions, and we can talk about the current situation if that's appropriate.
Yeah, is there any other questions from our panel members? It is actually a great segue into topic number one. All right, we'll just keep it moving forward. Then the topic number one addresses challenges in battery recycling access. And the specific question that came in from the person who presented this topic to the panel was, how do we guide e-bike owners to proper battery recycling when the manufacturer does not have clear solutions? Now, I want to call out Call to Recycle has done a fantastic job working with the industry and many brands to offer clear solutions, but not every manufacturer is working with Call to Recycle. So that is really what this question is. How do we guide e-bike owners to proper battery recycling when the manufacturer does not have clear solutions? We have two presenters. Speaker one is Mike Fritz from Human Powered Solutions, and I'm so happy we have speaker two, Maggie Long from Call to Recycle. So we're going to get some really great perspectives on this topic. So yes, Mike, if you don't mind to kick us off with your presentation, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Mike.
I mean, this is clearly very timely, and a lot of this discussion has been prompted by the recent recall announced by Santa Cruz. That brought into focus a significant issue right now relative to how we as an industry and how we as suppliers of electric bicycles and e-bike battery packs all the way down through to the dealer can deal with this. I mean, we're touching on two separate issues. One are the potential hazards associated with this battery chemistry, and we've spoken long about this for at least 3-4 years, trying to raise awareness of the potential hazards associated with lithium-ion battery without condemning the chemistry or the technology itself. There's no question that lithium-ion batteries have been a boon to society. I mean, it's enabled a micromobility. It's a significant opportunity to clean up the environment by moving away from internal combustion engines, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not going to belabor the point that lithium-ion batteries are a marvelous technology, and B, that under certain circumstances they can be extremely dangerous. I mean, deadly dangerous. And again, we've worked really hard to raise awareness of that through any number of different vehicles to raise that question. The issue at hand today is recycling, and recycling is the other point I wanted to raise. Was we all know that recycling is good. It's good for any number of reasons. It protects the environment. It allows us to recover valuable elements that we can recycle back into new products that are marvelous. There's just a million reasons why recycling is good. But the issue that we have now is the fact that a major manufacturer, distributor of high-end electric bicycles, has announced a recall. They've discovered an issue with about 3,200 battery packs that were distributed through retail outlets across the United States and Canada that have now been recalled for. We're not aware of the specific details relative to the issue. I'm very curious as an engineer that focuses on battery safety and battery technologies, but that's beside the point at the moment. The point is that we don't have in place a mechanism and infrastructure for dealing with a large number of recalled battery packs. Call to Recycle and People for Bikes have done an amazing job pulling together a program that helps us deal with essentially end-of-life battery packs, as well as potentially individually damaged battery packs that have been compromised that need to be returned because they have had some sort of an event in their service life that has called into question their safety for continued service. And we need to get those back quickly. And we handle those on a case-by-case basis. And Call to Recycle has pulled together a marvelous program to do that for the brands that have signed up for the program. It works seamlessly. It trains the dealer. It provides materials, shipping labels, instructions relative to how to pack the battery packs for safe transit. They've gone so far as to collaborate with transit companies, UPS and FedEx, that ordinarily would not accept lithium-ion batteries, especially compromised lithium-ion batteries, for transit. So kudos to People for Bikes and Call to Recycle for designing and implementing this fantastic program. However, it's not structured at the present time to deal with a mass recall. Maggie and I have spoken about this at length, and 3,200 battery packs would simply overwhelm the system as it currently stands. So Santa Cruz, had really no option in terms of instructing customers or retailers what to do with these batteries that have been recalled. And now the presumption is obviously that a recalled battery pack has a safety issue. Well, we need to do a better job in instructing the consumers relative to what to do with a potentially dangerous battery pack, other than referring them to their local municipalities, because we all appreciate the fact that current municipalities are also not structured to deal with a mass recall of this nature. So again, it's obviously it's an issue. We're aware of it. People are contributing with new technologies. The Lisa box could be an excellent assist in managing this, because a number of batteries can be safely stored and transported, to the recycling center. But at the present time, we need to do a better job. And the whole purpose of this forum is to raise awareness of that issue and to hopefully seek solutions. Having said that, let me turn it over to Maggie, because she obviously is the closest to this issue relative to the current system, and can discuss further what Call to Recycle's plans are in terms of addressing this situation.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Maggie.
Thank you, Mike. Can everyone see my screen all right?
Looks perfect.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Heather, NBDA, and Mike, for that great intro. We've done a lot of presentations in the past where we walk folks through the Call to Recycle program, how to register, what the benefits are, what's provided to you as a retailer for participating. But today I do want to kind of jive off of what Mike had just spoke to, which are the challenges that we're all facing together as we kind of charter these new waters, but not just what the challenges are, but why they exist, what we can expect in the future, and then also things that we can consider doing now to help relieve some of those pressures. So I want to start by just highlighting the hows and the whys of the creation of this program in the US. I think it's really important to provide context around why the program operates the way that it does. This program was formed by the industry for the industry. People for Bikes formed a sustainability task force and a few different working groups to come together and model a viable solution to the millions of e-bike batteries that are expected to be placed into the US market by 2030. To break that down a little bit further, there were what you could call two primary drivers behind the creation of this program. The first was to have a safe, scalable, and compliant solution for retailers and riders to recycle their end of life and their damaged defective e-bike batteries. Proper disposal is, of course, crucial to mitigate the dangers that come along with improperly handled lithium-ion batteries, as Mike alluded to, as well as starting to create that circularity with these products to reduce our industry's dependency on mining for virgin materials. The second, and maybe a little less known driver to the creation of this program, was to prepare for upcoming EPR legislation for medium format batteries. And Andrea, you touched on that as well. So I'd like to dive just a little bit deeper into what EPR is and what that means for this industry. EPR stands for Extended Producer Responsibility. And essentially, it's an environmental policy framework that says whoever is putting something into the market should be responsible for getting it out. So since the 90s, there have been states enforcing EPR laws for small portable batteries under 300 watt hours. And that's a really important distinction because right now there currently is no enforced EPR law in the US for medium format batteries above 300 watt hours. And e-bike batteries fall into that medium format category. So this program, the one administered by Call to Recycle and endorsed by People for Bikes, was formed completely voluntarily. All brands participating are doing so on a voluntary basis, but they are doing so because they know that in the very near future, they will be required to do so. And I'll get a little bit further into that in just a moment. But real quick, to provide full context again on what Call to Recycle does. Call to Recycle is a nonprofit and the administrator of this program. We've been doing this for over 30 years for portable rechargeable batteries to ensure brand compliance with state EPR laws, retailer safety, and consumer access to recycling solutions. So we've taken what we've learned from the portable battery industry and we've applied it to the emerging needs of our, you could call it an increasingly electrified world, solving for these logistical challenges and regulatory intricacies that come with transporting hazardous materials through the market. So now, of course, there are challenges. One of them being that this program, again, was formed as completely voluntary. Currently, and through the end of 2025, there is no legislation requiring producers to have a plan for their medium format batteries, an end-of-life plan. Because of this, they are not required to provide their retailers or consumers with an end-of-life solution, which is obviously the major pain point that we're discussing here. And it leaves retailers and consumers without end-of-life product support. The second is the difficulty with managing recalls, as Mike mentioned. I just want to clarify that this is completely separate from the e-bike battery recycling program. Recalls do not fall within scope of EPR laws, but I felt called to bring this up because of the recent recall scenario within the industry. I think it's important to remember that this is not a unique problem to the bicycle world. EPR applies to many different types of products, not just batteries, and recalls are not covered under those EPR umbrellas either. But in the end, a recall should be the responsibility of the individual brand selling something into the market. It should not fall onto the shoulders of the aggregated group of producers who are participating under a single stewardship program, which is the Call to Recycle e-bike battery recycling program or another stewardship program that someone might be operating. And so, of course, the challenge here is some brands may choose not to provide a clear recall disposal solution to their retailers and consumers. essentially leaving folks stuck with potentially dangerous batteries. And so dovetailing just into addressing these challenges, in response to the challenges outlined on the previous page, I just want to share ways that we can potentially address them, and just noting that nothing is one size fits all, nothing's perfect, but I do believe there are procedures and policies that we can implement to keep our stores and our staff safe and compliant. So short-term solutions, you've probably heard it before, reach out to the brands you sell in your store to find out what their preferred recycling solution is. The Call to Recycle, US Call to Recycle program has over 60 participating e-bike brands. And of course, this does not encompass the entire industry. So you may find that you're selling e-bike batteries that are not able to be accepted through this program. The producers of these products should be providing you with a clear path, and their riders with a clear path to how to safely dispose of these products. If nothing else, use it as an opportunity to let them know that this is something that's becoming increasingly important to your rider base. It's something that's valued by consumers, and let them know that there's an easy turnkey solution available through Call to Recycle, or if you know of another approved stewardship program, through them. Another really important bit here is to educate consumers at time of sale on e-bike battery recycling and safety. We really want to start normalizing that conversation at times of sales and service. It's not the most comfortable thing to do when you're selling a beautiful new e-bike off the floor to talk about the lithium-ion battery one day dying and needing to be recycled. But it's an important conversation to have, and we really need to start naturalizing that and making it just a normal part of e-bike ownership. Lastly, I'll say do not accept batteries from consumers if you do not have a clear path forward to disposing of the product. Have the consumer look for another local solution to recycle them. I think the best bet here is some communities will have local hazmat days where they do special collections for these types of hazmat materials. But I really want to emphasize, avoid putting yourself in a situation that puts you or your business at risk, whether that's sitting on and storing lithium-ion batteries or attempting to transport them yourself. There are US DOT regulations and guidelines, and if you are not trained to specific standards, you will not be exempt from those. So make sure you know what you're getting into if you decide to transport them yourself as a commercial business. And we do have safety resources available on our website for that. Heather, maybe I can link those over to you after this call. And I know I'm probably running over time now, so I just want to wrap it up real quick and note that, although, yes, these short-term challenges face us and we need to be safe and we need to be careful about what we're doing in our stores, we should also keep our eye on the long-term solution, which is truly having unity amongst all industry brands and retailers in how we approach this issue of safely recycling these products. So as mentioned earlier, there is no currently enforced legislation requiring producers to have a medium format battery recycling solution. That is changing. Starting in 2026, producers of medium format battery products that are covered under the law selling into Illinois and Vermont will be required by law to be a part of an approved stewardship plan. This is not, of course, a federal legislative piece, and I think federal battery EPR is probably way off in the future. However, I expect our participating brand member list to grow throughout the rest of this year as producers begin to further understand what this obligation means to them and their business model. So we, Call to Recycle, will continue working very closely with People for Bikes to ensure brand awareness across the industry of these requirements, all with the overarching goal of creating a more seamless solution for retailers and consumers of these products. I'm gonna stop sharing. Great, thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, Maggie, thank you so much. And thank you and Mike both for being at the NBDA Retailer Summit to present on similar topics to our attendees there in Bentonville, Arkansas. I did just put a link in chat to some resources on the NBDA website for e-bikes. There's recycling, there's that shipping and transport. And Maggie, yes, if you send me what you have, we'll add those to that webpage as well. It is important as we continue to have new developments come into play, like the Santa Cruz issue, that we do stay on top of it as an industry and chart best path forward. And I know that the EPA has been working with the bicycle industry as well, and we'll continue to keep everyone updated. Any questions from our panel members or just things you'd like to add when it comes to battery recycling access? Oh, Dawn. Hi, nice to see you. Dawn Miller, City of New York.
Me
Hi, Dawn.
too. Hi, and thank you for those presentations. Um, I just wanted to share, there's been a lot of continued attempts to refine producer responsibility legislation in New York State um, to include e-bike battery recycling. Some of the pushback that the legislation was getting was from folks like firefighters unions who are concerned, basically with the idea that the batteries are like dropped off at a retailer who like doesn't know what they're doing and they have them just like stowed in a back room somewhere for an interminable amount of time. Um, and and I do think there are instances of other battery like take back programs where like they're not really like taken out as quickly as they need to be in all of the protocols. So, I mean, I guess I'll just mention, when I was brought into the conversation, I had one of my colleagues from Department of Sanitation talk to Call to Recycle, get some of the details down about all of the procedures that you have in place to sort of get the batteries out like quickly and safely, and the training and equipment that retailers have. And so, what I've been encouraging on the legislative front is, educating on the firefighter side and also on the legislative front, like, can the legislation or the regulations be more explicit that it's not just having a requirement to recycle is probably not enough. There also needs to be like these protocols in place. So I'm not sure, if the companies on this call are like engaged in those conversations, but I do think that there's probably like, I'm doing what I can from my seat, but there's probably room for education, both among state legislators who are working on this legislation and among sort of like the firefighting agencies to understand like that you can actually do this in a safe way, and how to craft regulations so that basically the effect is somebody having all of these safety protocols like we see from the Call to Recycle program.
Yeah, how do we get that messaging across? Yeah, Maggie, were you going to jump in there?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that we do have a legislative expert, I'll call her, over here at Call to Recycle. And while we do not lobby, we do partake in informal rulemaking sessions where we can provide feedback and input as a pro as to what we've seen work successfully in the past. And so happy to connect with you, Dawn, and get you in the loop with Karen Stewart over here at Call to Recycle. But an approved stewardship plan typically involves much more than just these need to be recycled. It does involve outreach and education and accessibility metric and reporting to the state. And so that is where Call to Recycle comes in to kind of take that obligation off of the producer and but still ensure compliance in those states. So yeah, I would just say, Dawn, if you want to connect, I'd be happy to do that after the call.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is the power of these panels. This is fabulous. Thank you, Maggie and Dawn. A couple other comments look like they're coming up to address Dawn's comment. So Michael Pasquale, Micromobility Connect.
Hi, Heather. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to comment on the Lisa box. I just sitting here and just thinking about it, and I have an e-bike shop of my own. I think it's a great solution for batteries that might be kept overnight, that it might be questionable. If it's after hours of your collection site for Call to Recycle, which I am, If we have a battery come in at the end of the day, let's say, and we don't want it sitting overnight, the Lisa box might be a great solution for that. Works a little differently, the call to recycle program here in Canada, where we accept all batteries. In the US, I know Maggie's working hard, and I wish every single producer in North America would accept their own batteries back or have a protocol in place. That would be ideal for our industry. I think it's great, and we encourage the use of the call to recycle program to every retailer in Canada as well as the US. If you're not connected with call to recycle, I do highly suggest you do so. I just thought I'd add that in there. Also, it increases your foot traffic at your store. It brings people that normally wouldn't kind of come in to drop off their batteries, and it's great to increase the foot traffic.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. Jay Townley, Human Powered Solutions. Did you want to jump in?
Just to comment that coming out of the Bentonville Summit several weeks ago, we are actively, and this is the NBDA, Heather and the board, are considering through the Legal and Legislative Committee industry standards, voluntary standards. And I'll just make this sweet and short. It's obvious that the federal government at this point is not going to be able to move forward with the mandatory standards we had hoped for, and that they were developing, actually had voted for, relative to both lithium-ion battery regulation and e-bike regulation. And we need an update of the mechanical side of the bicycle regulation as well. So back in the day, there was a BMA 6, which is ancient history, but there was a strong voluntary industry standard. And so right now, for the consideration of this panel is the NBDA working to develop a strong industry voluntary standard. As Mike knows and Heather knows, I feel very strongly that this discussion we've just had needs to be a part of that. We've ended the discussion, but we've also left at the end of the day the consumer, in some cases relative to this subject recall we've talked about, without a solution. And that to me is totally unacceptable. And it's unacceptable for this industry to do this. And I think the answer to that from our standpoint that we can do is, in lieu of the fact that the federal government is not going to move forward for at least the next term, and I mean by that the next 3.5 years, I think it's up to the industry to develop a strong industry standard on a voluntary basis, but it's got industry teeth in it that we can internally work to make sure that we've got more compliance. At the end of the day, is we don't end up with situations like this, which is a recall of a potentially hazardous product that we have no solution for some consumers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jay, for that comment. And the NBDA is considering that. Our board did discuss that along with our Government Affairs Committee, and we'll be coming out public with some more information soon on that. But we do need to find a solution for our consumers. Thank you, Jay, for that timely reminder. Anything else from our panel members at this time? Of course, during these panel events, we might always not have the chance to get to a solution, but to get our brains thinking so when we come back together, we can do that, or to connect offline too. All right, we're going to continue to move forward then to topic number 2, which is understanding brake power and educating e-bike buyers. And I do believe that this topic has come up before on the panel, but it's so important because the question really addresses how can retailers effectively educate buyers about hydraulic disc brakes. Heavier weights of the e-bikes require hydraulic disc brakes for effective braking in most cases. And we want to make sure that our buyers are practicing in controlled environments before they get to the road or to the trails. And I'm thrilled to have Luke Elrath as our speaker on this topic. He has presented before, and I always do enjoy, Luke, your presentations. Bicycle and bicycling technical consultant. Luke, thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Heather, for that introduction. Just a background as to where I come from on this topic. I started as a bicycle product manager at Advanced Sports that owns Fuji, Kestrel, Breezer, and SE Racing, and I designed some early Breezer e-bikes for them. I then moved to a role as a product manager at Trek Bikes, where, among other things, I worked on the bike share B-cycle system, which did also incorporate electric bikes into it. Since my time in the bike industry, I have been employed as a forensic investigator. I am retained by attorneys when there is a civil litigation where somebody gets hurt on a bicycle or e-bike. I can be retained by either the plaintiff or the defendant, depending on what my opinion is about the circumstances of the matter. And so I'm frequently called into a case in which someone goes, purchases an e-bike at a shop, and soon after beginning use, they are overwhelmed by the power of hydraulic brake systems. As everyone in the bicycle industry knows, and it is a known hazard that any dual wheel braking system has the susceptibility for overbraking and pitch over. It is the most exacerbated with hydraulic disc brakes because of their relative power. I was in a case in which we conducted extensive laboratory testing of relative brake power. And in a specific circumstance, it was someone going from a mountain bike with cantilever brakes, if anybody remembers those, and they went to a mountain bike with hydraulic disc brakes. As part of my investigation, I essentially recreated their experience. I tested the amount of hand force required to achieve a full stop on their old bike with cantilever brakes compared to how little force was required at the lever to achieve the same braking force with hydraulic disc brakes. And what we got was an almost four-fold increase in braking power with a hydraulic disc brake. So the circumstances of that particular case were that this person walked into a bike shop, wasn't asked about their previous riding experience or what bikes they were on. They were encouraged to go towards models with hydraulic disc brakes. Now, granted, this case, it was a regular mountain bike. It wasn't an e-bike, but my opinion was there was no conversation at the time of sale at an independent bike dealer regarding previous experience or the new technology and the way that it behaves with hydraulic disc brakes. I am frequently called by plaintiff attorneys who say, I have a client who bought an e-bike, they went on a ride, and the phrase is always the same. The brakes locked up. They pitched over the handlebars and they suffered serious injuries. And in every case, there has not yet been an exception. I have never found a defective set of hydraulic disc brakes that lock up on new bikes. Much more likely is the fact that if you're not used to it, you get into a situation where you're going faster than you normally do because of electric assistance. You're on a bicycle that is heavier than you are used to if you've never been on an electric bike before. And what you're attuned to in terms of, I want to stop quickly, this is how hard I grip the brake, is easy to, in the moment, overwhelm a new e-bike rider. And so the brief notes that I put down here about this topic are: number one, a conversation is key to the safe sale of an e-bike. It is incumbent upon a bicycle retailer to not just sell a product. You are there to impart information and elicit information from your customers. You ask them, what's your experience with e-bikes? Have you ridden one before? What bike do you currently have? Have you ever ridden a bike with hydraulic disc brakes? And with a couple questions like that, that can guide your conversation as to what is important to impart at the time of sale. I completely understand from the side of retailers that you're trying to turn, you're trying to get people in and out, you're trying to close the sale. But in my experience, when I am retained by a plaintiff's attorney after something like this happens, I offer them questions to ask the retailer in a legal environment to see what sort of things they do as a regular business practice to prevent things like this from happening. And I ask them, what is the training for your employees on the sales floor? Do you have any sort of written down, requested or recommended questions during the time of sale? Do you, as a retailer, read the owner's manuals of the products that you sell? And that one's further down on my list, but that's something that I want to address right now. with direct-to-consumer e-bikes, with China factory direct e-bikes, from de minimis bikes and e-bikes I can get straight through without any CPS checks. What I'm seeing as a trend is that lower cost e-bikes come with owner's manuals that fall well below the standard of care for safety information content. The CPSC does have requirements for bikes sold and e-bikes sold in the United States regarding what needs to be in the owner's manual. And what I'm seeing is that a lot of owner's manuals for e-bikes are deficient and wouldn't meet this standard. So as a retailer, when you decide to carry a brand, read the owner's manuals that it comes with it. It sounds maybe a little bit silly, but you might look at it and see that there is no content in here that talks about the relative strength of hydraulic disc brakes. There is no content in this owner's manuals that say don't charge this unattended. The things that we are identifying as key critical safety items don't appear in the owner's manual. So I wanted to get that out first as a prelude to saying it's important to tell a customer buying an e-bike, you need to read the owner's manual. It comes with the bike, we're giving it to you, and it contains safety critical information. We can't tell you everything right now at this time of purchase, and you wouldn't listen to us anyway. But in this manual, however many pages it is, there is important and critical information that may not be self-evident to somebody who's not owned an e-bike before. Some of the questions that you can ask them, and I've gone over this, is just, have you ridden a bike with hydraulic disc brakes? What are you riding recently? Or when's the last time you rode a bike? We know that a lot of people who come to e-bikes have been out of riding anything for maybe some of their adult life. Ask about what their understanding is of different brake systems. Some people might just say, I don't know, I just grab the lever on the handlebars and it stops me. That's your entree to say there are different types of brakes, they have different purposes, and here are the things you need to know to be safe. Some really basic things. If they really seem like a new customer, you can tell them explicitly, your left hand is the front brake, that's the important one, that's what we're talking about here. And just guide them towards understanding the nuances of a braking system. Telling a customer that best practices are to use both brakes at the same time. I have been in cases in which people have misguided understandings for a number of reasons, that I only use the rear brake because, I only use the front brake because. This is an opportunity for the salesperson at a bike shop to say, hey, the best way to achieve a safe and controlled braking is to use both. Again, instruct the customer to read the owner's manual, and most good owner's manuals will have some content about how to achieve the safest and most efficient braking. And then lastly, and the most important thing that I do like to recommend to retailers when they are helping the person walk out with their newly purchased e-bike or any bike that is equipped with hydraulic disc brakes. Hey, there is a learning curve. Take this newly purchased vehicle, go to a controlled environment. I like to say a grassy ball field or some other place where you can get used to the reactions of your inputs in the braking system when you're away from traffic, when you are not on a paved roadway, and when you have the opportunity to simply learn gradually and become confident with the use of these brakes such that when you really do need them, you've got a little bit of practice and understand how they're going to react. And I would say that if those things happen during a 15-minute conversation at the time of sale, a shop would go very far to protecting themselves from potential litigation, which in my eyes is often unwarranted. But as bike shops know, have been through the process, that can take up a lot of time and resources that you would rather dedicate somewhere else. So those are my recommendations. It really is about the conversation and the warnings that you provide at the time of sale for e-bike disc brakes.
Luke, I can't thank you enough. And for the retailers who are here with us today or listening to the podcast or YouTube recording, just great reminders of what we need to do to ensure safety for all at time of purchase. So Luke, thank you for that. I do see a couple panel member hands up that would like to comment, I believe. So Clint Sandusky. Clint.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. Well, Luke, here's a pro tip for you, and I can't take credit for this. So for years, we teaching, whether law enforcement or the community, up through the mechanical disc brakes, always taught riders to use 2 fingers to brake, meaning the index and the middle finger, because you needed those 2 fingers to have enough force to stop the bike. But now with the advent of hydraulic disc brakes, like you said, very efficient, very powerful, it took me going to a BICP course with a former professional downhill racer who told us you only need to use 1 finger, meaning the index, which is a very powerful finger, thus allowing the other finger to wrap around the handlebars during rocky or bumpy terrain. So 1 finger is more than sufficient. And I can tell you in all my teachings and what I'm seeing, that's slow to be taught. And of course, when you do go to 1 finger versus 2, you've got to adjust the brake levers so you get that full pull on the brake lever. So I found that very profound, and now I use it all the time, and I think it's the greatest thing in the world. And the index finger is more than sufficient to stop a bike or an e-bike with hydraulic disc brakes.
I agree.
Yeah, as a mountain biker too, I definitely agree with that as well. Yeah, Carrie Caffrey, I see your hand up. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Luke. I really appreciated that. Couple of things just to add. You mentioned using both brakes. This is something that even on conventional bikes, people will have a bad experience with the front brake, and then they'll only use the rear brake because they're terrified of the front brake. So when we teach people not just use of both brakes, but also body position, getting their weight back and low. And when we do our class, we actually have them ride past us with that body position before we ever let them touch the brakes to make sure that they get that right. And so that's part of the braking, is teaching them to shift their weight back as well as using both brakes. And then one other thing that we've encountered with the hydraulic brakes is that people don't know that they're not going to get feedback as the pads wear. The brake doesn't give them the feedback of collapsing to the handlebar, and so they don't learn that their pads are wearing out until they've worn them down to the pistons and they're coming into the shops with the backing plates worn off. So that's a couple of things I just wanted to add. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, such a great topic. Thank you, Luke, again, for your expertise there on that topic too. Wonderful reminders to our retailers who are listening, and to suppliers, sales reps, or anyone listening, to remind retailers and those at point of sale. If it's okay with everyone, then we'll move into topic 3 for today. It's a great flow because this one is embracing cycling education. Such an important part of the conversation when we had our e-mobility day at the Bentonville Summit was about safety and riders being prepared for the e-bike experience. We know that e-bikes are a growing category, and the safer we can keep our riders and give them tips through standardized cycling education programs would be ideal for us to continue the growth of cycling. So that is the topic, embracing cycling education, and how can we as an industry look to have some standardized cycling education programs available for e-bike riders of all ages. So we have 3 speakers on this topic, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Our first speaker is Clint Sandusky, e-bike expert, law enforcement bike patrol instructor. Clint, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thanks, Heather. Let me get my screen up.
Wonderful.
And hopefully everybody can see it.
It's perfect, Clint. Yep.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for being here, and hello. I'd like to make 2 initial statements, and I want to read them verbatim because I think they're really important for understanding this topic. First, riding a bicycle today is more complex, especially with more and more cities adding bicycle infrastructure, including the separated bikeways, and require the bicyclists to better understand the traffic environment and strategies to have fun and be successful out there in a legal, cooperative, and less stress-free manner. This is even more important if one rides a faster, heavier, and at times less nimble e-bike. And all of this takes what I call effective and high-quality education and training. Now, Carrie, who's going next, can agree with me on this because we've been dealing with this pretty much all our lifetime. The biggest challenge for bicycling education is that people don't think they need it. Most untrained bicyclists knowingly expose themselves to conflict and crashes, while low-speed bicycling is remarkably forgiving. High-speed bicycling is much less, and we're seeing the results, and the doctors in the ER, ours are seeing the results of this higher speed cycling. Now we have e-bikes, but it can also pertain to anybody who's riding faster on a conventional bike. I don't know if you've ever seen this illustration before. This is the 5 layers of bicycle safety. Now, the biggest box 1, bike control, means it's the most important. The smallest box, injury reduction, is the least important, but it is still very important. It's the last line of defense should all the other boxes fail. So the most important is bike control, controlling your bike. So what that means is bicyclists, and we need to teach bicyclists how all the basic bicycle handling skills. I've seen some NHTSA studies where up to 50% of bicycle crashes are solo crashes because people don't know how to properly control their bikes. Next comes rule compliance. So that means following the rules of the road and the traffic laws. The next one is lane position. That affects your safety and your relevance and being seen out on the road. We'll talk about that more. The next is hazard avoidance. And there's really 2 things with that. Number 1, should you come across a hazard, say like a pothole, do you know how to traverse around it using the rock dodge technique? The next is being able to spot the hazards and understand where they are out in that traffic environment in advance. And that takes education. And the last is injury reduction. We call that passive safety versus all the other boxes. That's active safety. So passive safety, last line of defense, wearing your helmet, gloves, eyewear, etc. So all very important. With that, we need to teach people the 3 bicyclist behaviors. Now, to some degree, everybody does this as a cyclist, whether they know about these behaviors or not. You can see the top 2, pedestrian and edge behavior, they create a lot of conflicts and challenges and potential hazards, including on the middle bottom there, dooring. And you can avoid dooring 100% by simply staying at least 5 feet away. And you see their driver behavior, that bicycle is controlling the lane. He's being relevant. He's got good sight lines to all the other roadway users, and they have good sight lines to him. So we need to teach people the 3 behaviors, the benefits and the challenges to each. Now, before I get into that, standardized, I think we can all agree, is a very important thing for safety, situational awareness out on the road. And I can tell you right now, nationally, there's a number of nationally recognized educational programs out there from the industry and educational organizations. Also, on the state level, in California, the CHP has an online course. that is free, as well as locally, whether local governments, and they're popping up more and more of the time, as well as private businesses. Now, let me tell you, not all courses are equally created, so you need to beware and choose wisely when selecting a program. I still believe you as IBDs are the first line of defense in e-bike safety, but you're not alone. There's all these other stakeholders out there to assist you. So my final thoughts: we all play a role in our various degrees of embracing cycling education. You must do your own research, like I mentioned, by taking various national, state, and local courses. Some of them are free. A lot of them are reasonably priced. Beware the ones that are very expensive, so you can direct your customers with the proper resources and courses to educate themselves and make themselves safer. I'd like to thank all of you IBDs for your support in this increasingly important and needed educational effort. Thank you.
But thank you. It's always a pleasure to learn from you. It's been fantastic having you at the cabinet shows and part of these panels. So really appreciate your insight and reminders to our retailers and our industry at large. It's a fantastic topic that we do need to be talking about. I'm so happy to see it on the agenda today. And to follow you, Carrie Caffrey, who has done a lot with the NBDA and at the cabinet shows to educate retailers as well. She is co-founder of Cycling Savvy and curriculum director of ABEA. Carrie, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to build a little bit on what Clint talked about. When we talk about standards in education, we want to be using a data-driven approach. And that's the thing that for the last 15 years, ABEA and Cycling Savvy have been doing, is researching crash data and learning from that how bicyclists can implement countermeasures. And so the safety aspect is 100% driven by what we know of how crashes happen and how a bicyclist can prevent the mistakes that are made by the motorist, okay, as well as their own mistakes. But the most important thing is helping people understand that they have the power to avoid other people's mistakes. And I want to take this just one step further than safety, because once you've accomplished that, now you have a customer that isn't living in a state of hypervigilance and fear every time they go out on the road, and that is going to make them more likely to use a bike more often. And that's really what we want, is we want empowered bicyclists who get out there and they're charged by how easy it is. Because what we teach beyond just avoiding conflict is we teach people strategies to navigate the environment. Even that, like, we have this crazy traffic environment where we have engineers designing freeway-like features on surface streets, which are really intimidating for the average bicyclist. But we've actually devised strategies to help people deal with those and to use the traffic system, use traffic light platooning and different features in the environment in order to easily be able to get through some of those intimidating situations. So I just want to take a few minutes to point out some of the free resources that we have that you can use, that you can share with customers. You can put them on your website, or you can hand them out to customers. I'm just going to pop over to my my website here. So on our website, we have free courses. So we can go just directly down on the homepage. We have a free course for anybody who wants to ride a bike. That's the essential knowledge that they need. So, we just didn't want money to be a barrier to give people the knowledge that they need to operate safely in the environment. We also have a free course that clubs can use, and many clubs actually use this when they bring in new members to teach them the basics of pace line riding, so that when they show up for a group ride, they kind of understand the protocols of how to behave in a group. And then we have premium courses, which take people through to much more advanced strategy oriented stuff. Several counties here in California are using our courses for diversion for kids that get tickets. So it gives them the rules as well as the safety that they can use for that. We also have, I think Clint probably had a picture of this page. We have e-bike safety resources. There's a PDF here that you can download and print and hand out to people. It talks about the speed issue. Clint brought that up. Speed exacerbates every crash type, and it creates a need for people to understand things like sight lines, and how motorists misjudge speed, and then braking, effective braking, as Luke talked about. Not overly effective braking where you pitch over, but effective braking where you stop your bike in the minimum distance. And the faster you go, the longer that minimum distance is. So those are some resources that we have out there free to the public. Another thing we've created recently is an e-bike training course. I'll pop these URLs into the chat in a minute. This is not free, but organizations are buying bulk licenses in San Diego County. Anybody can take it for free because the trauma center in San Diego County purchased free licenses. So you just have to go through them to get it. But it's only $35 for somebody to purchase it. So it's a very low bar. This is designed for the teenager or preteen type, the 14-year-old early teen rider that doesn't have any understanding of the roadway. It teaches them everything about the roadway, in addition to all of the safety countermeasures. And then a post that we just put up recently, if you want to look into the data and how it's being collected and the research that's being done, we have a video here where Mike Wilson, who does our data collection, presents what his findings are. This is the most current data collection in the country on crash data. So it's very robust, and it's backed up by video and behavior observation, which is unique. So that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it, and I'm interested in any questions or comments.
Welcome those questions and comments. Thank you, Carrie, so much. I did put into the chat too the link to your website so people could see it as you were showing it. Fantastic reminders here. Dawn, did you have a question? Thanks.
I did, thank you. Very cool to see all these resources. I guess one of the reactions I have, and that I've had to a lot of like advice about cycling is, I don't know if it's always like adapted to the dense urban environment. I always hear this like, oh, don't get doored, stay 5 feet from a parked car. Like when bike lanes are next to parked cars and they are 5 or 4 feet wide, it's not really actionable guidance, because that puts you exclusively in a traffic lane with people honking, and you're actually supposed to be in a bike lane when there is a bike lane. And so I think the ultimate solution is wide enough bike lanes that people can ride and not get doored or be in a travel lane. But where that doesn't exist, I think like we should consider, what are the alternative piece of advice? Like for myself, I think actually just going more slowly so that you can stop as the door opens, right, is one of the solutions. But I think it's just something, as sort of like the professional educators to think about, like what is like, what is the advice? How is it different in urban environments? And that one in particular about the 5 feet from parked cars is one that always gets me as like hard to or impossible to act on.
That's a very difficult situation because the bike lane is putting you in the danger zone. And your options are to ride at a walking speed or to choose another route, or to ride outside the door zone. Now, depending on the street design, some street designs will allow you to ride just to the edge of the bike lane and motorists can go around you. You know, if it's a one lane and then has a center turn lane, I find that works really well. Other situations, yeah, it's a conundrum because you can't ride a normal speed in the door zone without playing Russian roulette with every car that's there.
Yeah.
And Heather, can I add just one thing to what Carrie said?
Yeah, Clint. Yeah.
So the beauty of here in the United States is freedom of choice. And like I mentioned, the 3 types of bicyclist behaviors, we have freedom of choice based on our knowledge, our skill, our comfort level to practice one of those behaviors. So I can tell you from a legal standpoint, to go farther on Don's question, from a legal standpoint, as a bicyclist, and it's written into most state laws, we have a legal right to leave that bicycle lane to avoid various hazards, including being doored, debris, etc. And that's where, you know, controlling the lane, driver behavior comes in, so we can control our space, and it's not rude, it's not illegal, it's not disrespectful. It's ensuring that you, the bicyclist, is safe. And in most urban settings, especially downtown settings, and I've ridden in a lot of downtown settings, downtown LA, downtown San Diego, controlling the lane, no problem. So yeah, are you going to occasionally come across that motorist that just hates bicyclists and honk at you or yell at you? But in a way, that's a good thing because that acknowledges that they see you, that you're being relevant. So it just comes on down to your decisions, for your safety. But there is a legal path to where you can leave that bike lane if it's a danger and control that, that rightmost travel lane for your safety.
It's still uncomfortable for a lot of people to do that, though. I mean, we have to acknowledge that. I think the most important thing is we need to really start insisting that our cities build a buffer into those bike lanes. Yeah. And sometimes they have enough space and they're putting on the buffer on the left side instead of the right side, which fine, I'll ride in the buffer. But, I mean, that we need to insist on better designs that respect us.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to do one more, and then I have one more speaker actually still to get to. Luke, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just that, Dawn, I acknowledge that New York is a very unique environment because in my investigations, specifically of dooring, New York is the only place I've ever come across that has a municipal requirement that if a bike lane is present, the cyclist is required to use it. Everywhere else in the country, if you look at the state driver manual, it says cyclists are road users that are entitled to all the rights and responsibilities of other road users there, and they are not required to ride somewhere that is identifiably unsafe, such as the door zone. I've been in cases, I've never been in a dooring case because, in my opinion, it takes two to tango. Both parties need to do something wrong at a very unique timing to allow that to happen. And a reasonable cyclist gathers information. Number one, where is this bike lane? Is it within the door zone? Number two, what should I do about it? And number three, you're actively scanning and looking for things like a head in a driver's seat, brake lights, someone leaning to open a door. And all these things play into dooring. But I do want to reiterate that New York, as far as I know, is the only place that requires you to ride in a lane, regardless of its design or its safety for the user. And that is one critical thing to think about when talking about cycling. Instruction is to first and foremost say that you're a vehicle, you're responsible to gather information and make safe decisions, and understand what your rights and responsibilities are.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's go to our final speaker. We have Brandon Morphew from MISO Partners, who's going to give his thoughts on the topic as well. Brandon?
Yes, I am. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Heather and panelists. Appreciate that. This is fantastic because, marketing is really another word for education, and there's so much good education here. There's so much good content right here in this conversation. My company is MISO Partners. We help bike shops and retailers grow through clear marketing, digital engagement, and community strategy. And I think consumers are really starved for this education. And I think it's an opportunity for bicycle retailers and manufacturers and industry in general to satisfy that need, that appetite. So a few concepts I want to introduce as you may have heard of these before, so I apologize, but I want to have a clear and level playing field. Ideal customer profile, ICP. This is your perfect customer. So this is, you would get the most value from this person. This is the person that you want to talk to. You're going to set up all your marketing and messaging specifically for this ideal customer. Pain points. Pain points, and they came up, so not an unfamiliar concept, but these are the emotional reasons for buying. These are the things that get people off their couch and into your store. Content strategy. This is how are you going to deliver content to the customers and your audience. Content pillars. So these are some of the specific areas that you're going to focus on. So education, I think, arguably is a really important part of that. And then content calendar, which is how you line up all the content pillars and all the different touch points that you have with your customers. So thinking about resources, here they are right here. You've got resources from the brands that you work with. You've got resources from NBDA. You've got resources from Cycling Savvy, League of American Bicyclists, all of the panelists here. So there's a lot of resources out there to pull your content from. E-bikes are popular. E-bikes are cool. This market is growing fast. So $2 billion moving upwards at a 15% annual category growth. So super exciting. At the same time, e-bike injuries through the roof. So from almost nothing to 25,000 in 2022. This is clearly an opportunity for education and safety. Parents are really interested in this space. So teens, I happen to know teens in my household that have e-bikes. They're opting for e-bikes over traditional vehicles, and families are investing money in e-bikes. And this trend is not just with younger riders, obviously, but safety is a huge issue here. And people are interested in safety, as much as it might seem counterintuitive. They might not want to wear their helmet, but they are interested in how to ride a bike and how to be safe with their e-bikes. And consumers are actively seeking this information on bike safety, on maintenance, regulations, and it's an opportunity to be a trusted resource for your clients, for your customers. These are some of the traditional ways we market to consumers. So safety protocols, staff training, product knowledge, these things all came up. Brochures and guides, safety manuals, printed materials, in-store workshops, safety clinics, maintenance tutorials, safety checks. These are all the things that we are familiar with physical things in the store. For digital strategy, think about things like SEO-friendly content. So 5 safety checks before every ride. Social media, bite-sized videos, rider spotlights that offer tips. Email newsletters. So all of the content that's coming here, there should be a home and a place, or there arguably could be a home and a place alongside the athletes and the adventures. There's a place for education. And this is a way to communicate with your audience on a regular basis with a plethora of touch points. You've got, lots of opportunity here. I won't go through them all, but safety tips, consumer testimonials, maintenance advice, all of this can be packaged into unique content through your different channels, whether that's blogs, email, social media. Community engagement strategy. So think about school partnerships, ways to bring cycling safety into classrooms and parent groups, local safe rides. So helmet giveaways, skills days, education days at schools, and then customer testimonials. So the stories from happy customers, advocates that help make an impact with your existing and new clients. So when we think of VR, we often think of like those headsets and the glasses, but how can you simulate traffic or trail scenarios in the store or at events to help educate consumers? Gamification. Can you give away digital badges for people that participate in a certain amount of events, offer reward systems, loyalty programs, apps? It's pretty straightforward to create an app for your store. These can be branded alerts, tips, service reminders. If you're looking to stand out, these are the places to do that. And then follow up with your clients and follow up with me. So Miso Partners is, we work with a lot of bicycle retailers, and I'm always happy to take a call and offer any suggestions I have.
Thank you, Brandon. I like the way that you showed us how we can get the messaging on e-bike safety and education out through our various platforms. Appreciate your presentation there. I am going to keep us on schedule by doing a panel discussion summary and passing it over to Mr. Jay Townley from Human Power Solutions to do this summary for us. Jay, if you would.
Well, and I think this was an excellent panel discussion all the way through. We came back, and thank you, Brandon, for the summary, because I think it all comes back to marketing, and we have to sell product. So consequently, how do you package all of this is important, as serious as it is. Starting with the message about the EPR and how important that is, but also the fact that, and again, I'm a little bit self-serving here, I have to be careful, that what Andrea and Mike Fritz at this point, and the message that came across to me was that we have got a situation with lithium-ion batteries and e-bikes that we as an industry need to address, whether the federal government, which was well-meaning, moving toward regulating on a mandatory basis, has not been able to do that or not. So I think we have to seriously think of the standard situation going forward. But more importantly, to me, is this whole idea and concept of the extended producer responsibility and how we as an industry deal with that. The voluntary standards issue we'll deal with, I think, as we move forward. Luke, I particularly liked your tie-in to what is the practicality and the reality of product liability and insurance. I think that's an overriding issue for the whole safety side of this discussion, including the education, particularly the things that Clint and Carrie focused on, and the fact that the cycling savvy tools are absolutely available right now to NBDA members. Carrie pointed out with her website, or with the website, what's available that dealers could take advantage of at this point, which backs up a little bit into the EPR side, just in the sense that you got to add the whole message, as Luke said, about e-bikes, the heavier product, the faster product that Clint referred to, all of these issues relative to hydraulic brakes, and the experienced mountain bikers, including Heather, boiling this down to one finger applications for the types of brakes that are available today. None of you brought up the fact that APS is coming up, and our ABS is coming up and is actually in the market and already tested in Europe. So there's other issues technologically that'll come forward here. But again, I think thank you to Brandon for summarizing very nicely for everybody, in the sense that as serious as the safety issues, the EPR issues are, and the education issues, which we lag in and have to move forward in, this still boils down to how can a retailer capture all of this, as Michael referred to in his presentation, and make sure you're getting correct information to consumers. More importantly, this is valuable information that sets the bike dealer apart from the mass merchant and the direct seller, that is not only pertinent and helpful, but helps the consumer. So that's my takeaway, Heather.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, thank you so much. And I saw that Andrea did place her contact in the chat. Thank you. And Carrie put some links to teen e-bike training. So definitely check that chat before we close out. I did put a link to our next event, which is Tuesday, September 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern for 90 minutes. I put a link to register for that. Again, our sincere thanks to the panel members who volunteer their time to attend today and share their expertise. Thank you also for the attendees, and thank you all. I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and thank you for joining today. And with this, we go.
Thank you.